Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jaw-Dropping Customer Experience. This is the intro webinar, and today we have the pleasure of having our MAPS coach, Peter Chabris, on the webinar with us today. I would like to note that this webinar is being recorded, and you will automatically receive this recording. Please feel free to share that recording with anyone in your market center that you feel may benefit from this webinar, and spread the word about this program that's coming up. I will be posting the details of the program in our chat box. If you have any questions, please type them into the questions box, and we will respond accordingly as they come in, and Peter will have a quick Q&A at the end of the call and go over some of those questions. So that's all for me, Peter, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. And thanks, everybody on the phone call, for joining us. I hope I create a good chunk of value for you on this phone call. I've learned so much about the importance and relevance of customer experience over the past few years. And we'll share my personal story for the actual webinar, but I've just found that what's old is new again. And for a while, we were all distracted by technology and the lever it created to scale business. And I think we're all starting to experience the potential that technology actually winds up working against us. And what empowers us to create huge, strong businesses in the face of a changing technological landscape is actually the relationship, the one thing technology really can't do. And I don't want this to be a big diatribe against technology, because it does some incredible things. But what I want us to do is kind of return back to why we're in this business, which is service, right? And make that a focus, not just because we should be great fiduciaries, but because it's also the most efficient and the most profitable and the highest margin form of lead generation. So I want to say that again: customer service, customer experience, and the maintenance of relationships is the highest and most profitable form of business that you can do in this industry that we're all so lucky to be a part of. So these are all rhetorical questions because you guys can't really answer right now, but think about what the cost of a bad sale is. Well, you might lose some commission. You may have made a mistake, and you may have to throw some money at the deal to get it to close, and that doesn't particularly feel good, excuse me. I would argue that that's probably the least expensive cost of a bad sale when you start thinking about the impact of negative online reviews. And here is where technology has kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, and is requiring us really to bring our A game more often, which is great. I think it will elevate the entire bar of professionalism in our industry, and we're going to have to contend with the potentiality of having negative online reviews when a sale goes south. And those hurt, because when you're referred to somebody, before they call you, they're going to check you out online. And if you've got too many negative online reviews, then that may actually prevent a referral from happening. So I would say that's the second cost of a bad sale. This, to me, I think is almost the worst one, and that's sort of that peer-to-peer negative experience sharing. We all know that people are 4 more times likely to share a negative experience than they are a positive experience, and that can really impact things when you get the sort of the proverbial cocktail party where people are saying, oh, I'm thinking about selling my home, and I've heard about this guy, Peter Chabris, what do you think? And they say, that guy's a jerk. Let me tell you about this horrible experience my friend had, and you've lost an opportunity to serve. So all of these are costs, and then, of course, with all of that comes lost referral opportunities. So a bad sale is exponentially more impactful in a bad way than we may actually expect. And so I just want to kind of ask another question, which is, what is the highest margin, lowest competition source of business to acquire? And I think we all know that that's that repeat and referral element. So what would your business look like if every client you worked with referred you 1 closed sale per year? Now, I know you might be saying, well, that's not possible, and you're right, it may not be, but let's just let's expand our thinking a little bit about what incredible service and what incredible relationship management might yield us, right? Let's say you do 2 deals a month, that's 24 a year. What if you had another 24 on top of that because of the amazing experience that you created and the service that you provide along the way? That would have a pretty heavy-duty impact on our business, wouldn't it? So I want to give you guys a real quick sneak peek into MREA 2, which one of these days is going to come out. And this hasn't changed. And Gary, I'm part of Gary's top mastermind group, and so he's shared some of these concepts with us. And the great news is that despite all the changes in our industry over the last 10 or, well, let's see, MREA was published in 2005. So over the past 12 years, the core of our business hasn't changed. That is that you need leads, primarily for listings, and then after that you get into the leverage game. So none of that has changed, and that is still kind of our core business model: leads, listings, and leverage. What's happened is that technology has been hammering on the leads part, that is to say, inserting itself into where customers go to search for inventory, capturing that contact information, which are then leads that are taken out of our sphere and put in the sphere of technology, and listings, because there are technology companies looking to disrupt that listing agent value proposition, right? So there's some heavy duty and commission, frankly. There's a lot of commission pressure that's starting to happen from all these listing, technology-driven listing-based services. And so we find two of our L's kind of under attack right now by outside forces. And the thing now, guys, if you haven't figured this out, is that the difference, there's always been pressure on this system. What's different now is that it's institutionalized pressure with Wall Street's financial horsepower. So the game has gotten a little more high stakes. And so Gary tells us part of MREA 2 is to build a wall, right, almost like a moat or a really tall wall around our core business model of leads, listings, and leverage. And what do we do to build that wall? He says there's three pieces to it. Number one is you have to have, and we as an industry, frankly, have to have a strong value proposition. If somebody is saying, why should I use you, we should very quickly and succinctly be able to define how we create value for our service users. The second piece, he says, is you've got to provide great service. Not just be a good fiduciary, but also provide great service, which is where the lion's share of this content is going to stay. And then you have to maintain the relationship after closing. You can't just be a great fiduciary, provide great service, and disappear from people's lives. The average consumer, we'll get into this in the webinar, in the program later on, is exposed to as many as over 5,000 impressions of brand and marketing every single day. It's so easy to lose mind share in your consumer's mind. And so there's got to be a great relationship management program that you've instituted or implemented in your business so that you can reap the rewards of putting in that great service up front. So again, value, being able to define and articulate your value, providing great service, and staying in touch relationship with your past clients and sphere, that is the wall that protects you and your business and our business model. So that's the concept. The majority of our webinar, and I should say of the program itself, is the jaw-dropping customer experience is focused on the service piece. So let's talk about what's average. According to the National Association of Realtors, 21% of an agent's business comes from repeat and referral business. Okay, so that's average. So I'm going to assume because you're on this webinar, you're not interested in average. So let's talk about doubling that. My goal for this course is for you to come out with a superior, and this is important, repeatable, that is to say scalable, and referable customer experience. Now, notice I'm saying customer experience and not customer service, and we'll get into the differences between those in the future. So number one, we want a superior, repeatable, and referable customer experience. The second is if you're around a 20% referral rate, I want you to double that repeat and referral rate within 12 months' time, so that 40% of your business is repeat and referral. Now, I'm guessing that a lot of the people listening to this webinar already are big believers in the importance of high level of service, and you may already be at 80% repeat and referral. That's great. There's still going to be a ton of material in here where you're going to realize how many opportunities there are to increase that referral rate and make your service more systematic, more repeatable, more scalable, so that you have to work less hard to create actually higher levels of service in the eyes of your consumer. And I'm willing to bet that there's opportunities in your relationship management after the close that can also yield you a higher level of referral business. Because you guys are at 60, 80, even 100% referral. You guys are the smartest ones in the room. I just want to be able to help you refine your practices a little bit more so that you're even better at what you do. Now, repeat and referral business is the highest margin, lowest stress, highest trust form of business there is. So any increase we can do in your repeat and referral business is going to increase your business's profitability and, frankly, your sustainability. I don't care what happens to the economy, and I don't care what happens with technology. If you have a really strong relationship with your database and you're providing amazing service when people need you, you are going to be able to weather recessions like the Great Recession we experienced, and you're going to be able to weather whatever technological storm happens over the next few years until this industry figures itself out. And finally, and frankly, I think in some ways the most important is they're just better client relationships. When you start from a position of trust, when you've been referred or where somebody's coming back to you, that relationship is so much easier to maintain, lead, control, and also to just enjoy. I mean, it's much more satisfying to work with somebody that already believes in you and your value proposition than it is to fight tooth and nail with an expired or a for sale by owner or somebody that just calls you off of your farming. All that stuff is valuable and all those resources and opportunities, but I just want to focus on the stuff that I believe is the easiest and it's the most satisfying, and that is this repeat and referral stuff, okay? So I want to define customer experience because a lot of people perceive service as not customer service, not being a lead generation tool. And I want to cut that mentality out, that mindset out right now. It is all about the money. Now, we come from a place of contribution, but it is all about the money. Let me show you why. Let's assume you've got, let's just do this. Let's take the number of METs that you have. We all know what a MET is, someone that knows who you are, what you do, and would support you in that effort by either using you or referring you, right? So let's take that number of METs and let's divide that number by 10. Because now the average consumer says they'll live in their home for 10 years before they move, right? Used to be less, now it's more after the Great Recession. So for example, if you had 200 people in your database, dividing that number by 10 would give you 20. So multiply that by our average commission. In Cincinnati for our sales group, it's $7,500. So that would be a pretty big chunk of gross commission income. So let's look at this example. 180 METs in your database, not a huge number. The average person is moving every 10 years. So if you divide that by 10, you would get 18 closings a year. Times the average commission of $7,500 would be a GCI gross commission income of $135,000. That's a big deal. That's good money. So that's what your income should look like just from repeat business. If you've got, a seasoned, if you've been in business for a while and you've got people that are turning over every year. Now, let's take that one step further. Let's say, and I know this is going to be mind-boggling concept, but let's just say that for every 5 METs in your database, you got a closed deal. So a 20% return. For every 5 METs in your database, you closed 1 sale. On referrals, let's look at what that would look like. Same thing, 180 METs. Let's say 1/5, right, 20% of that database refers you a closed piece of business every year. Well, that would be 36 units. Times the $7,500 average commission would be $270,000 in gross commission income. So if you add that up, you got $270,000 in gross commission from referrals, 100 and I believe it was 35 from repeat business, a database, a well-oiled, well-connected, well-marketed to database of 180 people, just 180 people could yield you a $405,000 gross commission income. So I just want to underscore service, relationship, and communication with your past relationships is absolutely a fantastic form of lead generation and a growth opportunity for about 99% of us at Keller Williams. So let's move on here. Let's talk about what makes a great customer experience, and that's what the CX acronym stands for. Well, there's kind of 3 pieces to it. The first one is communication. And in the communication part of the program, the group coaching program, we're going to develop a higher level of behavior awareness so that we are communicating with and hearing people properly. We're going to talk a lot about scripts and dialogues all throughout the class, and yes, every script and dialogue I give is documented and you receive a copy of it. We're also going to talk about the importance of setting expectations, critical to any high-level customer service or customer experience. We're talking about future pacing and how to resolve conflicts because, unfortunately, these things are going to come up in our niche, in our business. I want to talk about systems. How do you systemize great service prior to and after your appointment, whether it's a buyer consultation or a listing consultation? I want to talk about how you actively service your clients that you have. And I want to talk a little bit about closing systems, collecting feedback, and follow up on that feedback. And the last sort of layer of a great customer experience is the +1. And the +1 is kind of that magic, the thing that makes their experience with you memorable. It's that emotional piece that just delights them and makes them feel compelled to refer you. I want to say that again. Your base layers are the communication layer and the system levels. The communication is how you talk to and engage with your client. Systems is how you mechanize or systemize or scale a great customer experience, because we want big businesses, and so we've got to be able to scale that great service. And that +1 is kind of the icing on the top of the cake, right? That moment that you have to delight, to really emotionally connect with your client and make them feel compelled to refer you. That's what this is about, making your experience one that leaves people feeling compelled to refer you. So I want to talk about Mike Hicks. Now, if you've been at Keller Williams for more than a year or two, unless you've been living under a rock, you guys have seen and heard of Mike Hicks. Gary's had him up on stage at Mega Camp, at Family Reunion. He's on panels, and this guy is brilliant. In fact, in the Gary Keller Mastermind, he got Mike up in front of all of us and said, you guys, Mike is brilliant. Listen to what he's doing. Mike Hicks is from Idaho Falls, where the population is about, I think, 80,000 people. His team is doing over 400 sales a year. They have no marketing budget. They do no outbound lead generation. It's, with the exception to their database, it's all repeat and referral. They are a 90% repeat and referral rate on a over 400 sale per year business. And they do it with what they call the promise. And the promise is a script that Mike wrote personally that covers expectation setting and future pacing, expectation setting, future pacing, and really sows the seed for an active referral-based relationship with people after they close. So we're going to go over Mike's promise, and anybody that registers for the webinar will get Mike Hicks's promise. It's brilliant, and I would say it's probably the easiest thing that you can do with the right mindset and the right systems built around it to very quickly ramp up your repeat and referral business. So we're also going to spend a lot of time going through the nuts and bolts of how to deliver great service. So it's not just high-level stuff. I'm going to be getting into the weeds with you guys, and we're going to spend 3 or 4 weeks really mechanizing and systemizing how you provide great service to your clients, all the steps, all the communication points. And I bring this slide up just to demonstrate to you what a checklist looks like. Now, these days, most checklists are not on paper, but I'm using our paper one to demonstrate what a checklist can look like. And when we go through the seminar, I'll explain why we do things the way we do, what we say in these emails, what we say in the phone calls, and yes, absolutely, you get a copy of all the stuff, so you can just do what we call R&D, which is rip off and duplicate. And it would be my honor for you to rip off and duplicate what we've created here. I want to talk about feedback, because in the absence of feedback, you don't know what you're doing. As Ken Blanchard has said, feedback is the breakfast of champions, and we want to be champions at repeat and referral business. And so we're going to talk in the seminar. I'll kind of skim through this right here. We want to talk about how we systemize the collection of feedback and how we act on it. It's interesting because our sales group, the Chabris group here in Cincinnati, was built transactionally, mostly on for sale by owners and expireds, and a lot of phone call grinding. And we hit a wall, and I'll save the story for the actual class, but we quickly determined that our service stunk, and that we weren't doing a good job of staying in touch with our database afterwards. And so we overhauled a lot of what we were doing, both culturally and mechanically, and started implementing, and we thought we were killing it until we introduced a feedback loop and realized we weren't doing as great as we thought we were. And so feedback and putting a system for feedback in place is critical to make sure that you're getting the loop, that feedback loop, to make sure you're really delivering on that amazing and referable and high margin customer experience that we're all looking to put into our business. And so I'll give you all the templates that we use, all the questions, and more importantly, the why behind the questions, so you understand how to collect that feedback. Now, referrals are the best business, right? And how do we know that? Because Gary has told us in the MREA, staying in a relationship with your database is the #1 way to get more business. It isn't any of all the other things, all the other, gold coin, or what is it called? Shiny objects that are flashing in our eyes at Family Reunion and Mega Camp, right? It's not the new internet lead platform. It's not hiring 20 people to make 1,000 phone calls each per day. It's so simple, guys. It's just staying in relationship with your database and doing a better job when they ask to work with you or they refer you to one of your people. So on the third part of the program, we're going to talk about how to retain our clients, right? How to have a great communication platform that's going to increase our referral rate. And that's basically called the 36 to connect. It used to be called the 33 touch in the MREA. And I'll give you a statistic that's very interesting. Prior to us doing this on our sales group, we had a 7% repeat referral rate. After we implemented all of these things, and that was what was the foundation, or sort of the fountainhead of writing this program, was our experience moving to a referral-based business. I'm proud to tell you, less than 2 years later, we're at a 15% referral rate. We have 1,000 people in our database. We're on track to close a little over 150 people just from that database. And it all starts with the service, and the second piece is staying in touch with the database. So I'm going to skip through some of this and talk about how do you get 36 touches per person in your database. And we're going to go into that in great detail when we work together during this 10-week program. It is a form of prospecting. High-level service and high-level communication post-closing is a form of prospecting. It's the most enjoyable form of prospecting there is. It also happens to be the most lucrative and the best return on your investment. So we'll also talk about the 33 touch that our team used, our sales group used, in order to get to that 15% referral rate, which is a huge number. Now, we do 44 touches, and I'll get into exactly why that is and exactly how we do it. And when you register for the seminar, the group coaching program, I will add you to our email distribution list so you have things to talk about. Every 2 weeks, you're going to have a topic that you can use with your database. We'll also talk a little bit about the fan club so that we can continue to create value for our clients after the closing, because it helps you stay top of mind, it helps you create value, and it's also a way to kind of create a membership-based economy around your database. And we'll talk about what does a membership economy mean and why would you want to have that. The top level concept is that if people sort of subscribe or participate in your loop of communication with them, you start getting automatic customers, which is those repeat customers, and with a little bit tweaking, you start bringing in a higher level of referral customers. So we're going to spend some time on the fan club concept as well. Now, I may be interesting to talk to, but I don't have all the answers. So one of the things that I like to do is bring one of Gary's people in from his top 100 mastermind and spend an hour with us where I'll be interviewing that individual, and then you guys will have the opportunity to ask your specific questions about how they have set up their service platform and their referral platform. That is always a great, great call, and there's always so much in those phone calls for you to take advantage of and implement. So what's our agenda for the program? This is it in a nutshell. We start with the basics during the first 2 weeks, and the basics are always the most important, and that is going to be, number one, cultivating the right mindset around service, because it's a totally different mindset. Understanding what exactly customer experience is, because it's different than customer service, and skilling up a little bit on communication. And then the next 3 or 4 weeks, really it's the 4 weeks, we're going to hammer out what exactly your customer experience system looks like and who does what next. So whether you're an individual agent or whether you're a team of 35, either way, at the end of those 4 weeks, if you do the work, you're going to have an overhauled system of how to deliver great customer experience. So the pre-appointment program, the post-appointment program, how to work actively with your buyers and sellers in a systematic way, how you coordinate the transaction well, how the people behind the scenes operations, whether it's you or whether it's a team of people, and the feedback loop, all of that, the actual mechanics of a great service platform, great experience platform, we'll cover during those 4 weeks. Now there's a lot of sleeves, you got to roll up your sleeves, and if you do this, guys, when you do this and implement it, you're going to be amazed at how much better your feedback gets and how those referrals just start trickling in. It's a beautiful thing. And then we'll do the fun stuff, and that's kind of where the magic is, right? So we'll talk about fan clubs. We'll implement a 36 touch. We'll talk about client events. We'll be doing some crowdsourcing because we all learn more when we share. We'll talk about executing on your customer experience. I told you we're going to have a Gary's group interview, and then I'm going to bring on somebody else who I think you will enjoy listening to. And we're going to talk about who is your client experience officer. Who's your CEO in your world? What's their job description, and what does their accountability look like? And so that's kind of the top level of what we're going to be doing. Now, what will you get from the class? A lot. Most importantly, the right mindset so that you deliver a great customer experience and you know clearly what that looks like and how to capitalize on that experience after the fact by keeping in touch with your database. You're also going to get our complete customer experience system, which is all of our checklists, all of our scripts, all of our dialogues, all the emails that we use, and all the mail that we use, because that's valuable too, and I'll explain why in the program, all the feedback forms that we use, all of our communication standards that we have, and all the service standards that we have that we hold each other to, in part because of the feedback loop that we have. We'll go over a very granular level, our 44 touch. We'll talk about client events and specifically ours, how we implement them, why we do it the way we do it, how we market them. We'll talk about accountability around customer experience. I'll give you guys the Chief Experience Officer job description and what are high-level fiduciary best practices, right? How do you know that you're implementing them and executing them? So, and then I'll also give you some cheat sheets on how to communicate with your clients well. That's a really important piece. And frankly, at the end of the day, at the end of this journey together, which is about 10 weeks, you're going to have all the skills and you're going to have written your own roadmap on how to double your referrals in just a 12-month time period. Now, if you're interested in doubling your referrals, here's what you do. You go to mapscoaching.kw.com/CX, which stands for Customer Experience. Now, I only do this program once a year, and it's during the fourth quarter of the year. So if you're interested at all, join me. It works out perfectly. We work together the fourth period of the year. You implement all these best practices. Your new customer experience and your new database communication program is up and running before 2018 starts, and you don't have to bother. You can just execute on this stuff in 2018 and start enjoying those referrals. Now, as an added bonus, MAPS is offering a 20% discount if you sign up prior to the program, which is a week from today at this time, and that's with the bonus code MEGA17, okay? So that's it. I wanted to use your guys' time efficiently. I hope you found this really compelling. I got to tell you, we're having so much more fun now that, frankly, we're a lot more profitable now that we're doing this high-level service and high-level repeat and referral business. So there's some questions. I'd be more than happy to take them at this point in time.
Hey, Peter, we have one question. How do I get the checklist and 36 touch?
By registering for the course.
Great. So also I wanted to note that I did post the link to register right in the chat section. And again, you can use that code MEGA17 to receive the 20% off. And as Peter said, he only offers this program once a year. So this is huge. And he's even offering a discount on this once a year program. We have another question. What is the cost of the course? The cost of the program is normally it is $297, and today it's 20% off of that. Are the sessions recorded? Yes, they are recorded, and you will have access to those recordings. We have one from Daniel. What do you mail to your past clients?
Right. Well, it's a series of items that we mail, Daniel. Certainly there's the component which is just the 36 touch, where we're mailing a postcard every month to our clients, letting them know about listings that we just sold. It's really important because different people form impressions different way. Not everybody's an email person, not everybody is a social media person, so there's a component of our database that still gets mailers. And we also do some mailers to people who have closed. So we mail settlement statements at the beginning of every year to everyone that closed the previous year. We also mail to our clients during the process several value points. It's a horrible phrase, but during the active buying or selling process, there's several mailers that we send them, some of which are just meant to delight them, and some of which are functional and relevant to the sale. And we'll get into those and why we do them in the program. Does that answer the question? I guess I can't tell if it answered the question. Let's see here. So somebody's asking, is the session recorded? Yes, absolutely. $297 a month, yes. So Farida's asking, is it $297 for the entire course? Yes, it's not per month, it's $297 for the entire course. Each session is roughly an hour long, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on questions. Mike Hicks, Kimberly's asking, will Mike Hicks be teaching any of the class? It depends. I like to rotate. There's 4 or 5 agents in Gary's mastermind that are really, really good at customer service and referral-based business. Mike is one of them. I'll have to check and see who's up next in that rotation. Andrea, yes, the 20% is being offered today. How long will you have access to the course, Muriel? Mimi, that's usually available another 30 days after the end of the class. So we upload material prior to each class, and then it stays an additional 30 days after the last class. And the last class, I believe, is December 12th, so it would be available until roughly January 12th for you to download and use. Cassandra's asking how many sessions. There are 10 sessions, Cassandra. The discount code, Rhonda Joe, is MEGA17, capital M-E-G-A, all caps 17. Any other questions I can answer, guys? Looks like that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Peter. We'll be ending the call now.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to it.